Alright, people, another live video. Now, this would be my third live video on my channel. Stephen Rogers Lim here. Now, I am really trying to solve some of the technical issues I have, whether it's with my camera, my sound, the screen. I think this should be good. So I really wanted to do a wish list of hot toys, but I figured I want to do an S.H.Figuarts wish list instead. So of course this is the wish list for the reissues. From what I know, S.H.Figuarts, the Bandai Tamashii Nations, they are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z. So I think they really want to have some reissues to celebrate this 40th anniversary. So they even sent out the survey or the questionnaire link asking fans and collectors what they would wish for SHF Dragon Ball reissues. So I think you can easily find that link on the Facebook Tamashii Nations Facebook page or group. No, I think it's a page, not a website. It's definitely not a website, so it's a Facebook page. So I think I will also save the link in the comment section at the end of this live video. So as mentioned, I really wanted to do a wish list for hot toys, but I think I should do this first since it coincides with the 40th anniversary, and since SHF really wants to do some reissues. So here goes the top 10 list of my reissue wish list. So as mentioned before in my previous videos, I am a Generation Y, Gen Y, more of a, I think better known as a millennial. So my experience, my memories, my knowledge, or what I like about Dragon Ball is from this 42 series comic book. So my wish list would definitely be based on these stories here in this series of comics. So this is Dragon Ball Z. So this is what Dragon Ball is about to me. And yep, this is what Dragon Ball is about, or what I know of Dragon Ball, Cell, Android 16, 17, 18. This is another beautiful poster wallpaper of what Dragon Ball means to me. So of course you see a lot of Cell Juniors here. Cell, first form itself. Alright, and the other characters, Android 19 and 20. So if you ask me, what is this? I really don't know. So I didn't read or didn't, didn't watch this, whether it's on the comics or on a video. So I don't know what this one is about. I know this is quite popular and famous from the toys that SHF has released so far. So Battle of Gods, I have no idea what this is or what the storyline is about. Resurrection F as well, I heard it's quite popular. Quite a few figures released from this series as well, but really a black hole there for me, a question mark. This one's Dragon Ball Super as well. I know it's very popular, but I haven't read it myself yet, so don't know what this is about as well. Dragon Ball GT is another one that I don't know about. So if you ask me what Dragon Ball is about, I would say Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and this is like a perfect summary of what I know about Dragon Ball. So now let's get on to the list of reissues that I really want. Top of the wish list is, of course, Android 18. Now, if you take a look at the prices of Android 18, it is easily more than 200, 300 US dollars. So I think a reissue is really wanted or needed by fans and collectors. So of course, this is the version we want. This is the later version. I don't know which version this is from. Probably from one of the later series that I don't really know about, whether it's Dragon Ball Super or GT or Resurrection F, one of those I don't really know. So this to me, even though it was released by S.H.F, I'm definitely not getting this. So what I really want is this first version. So this is the top of my wish list. So what I know is that Android 18 was released twice. This is the first version. You can see the differences in the box there. This is the second version. I think I'm fine with any version as long as I get this version of Android 18 being reissued by S.H.F. I will be more than happy. And of course, second would be Android 17. Now, I think Android 18, from what I've seen online, is very rare, very difficult to come by, and very expensive as well. Android 17 is a bit more available, I would say, but it is still at the expensive high price of Android 17, right? Yeah, at a high price of about 200 US dollars or more. So definitely we want this version, or I want this version. This is the same version as just now, that pink version of Android 18. This goes together with the pink version of Android 18 in that sports jersey kind of like shirt that you saw, the attire. So this is a later version of Android 17. Like I said, I don't know which series this is from, whether it is from Dragon Ball Super or GT or Resurrection F or one of those later series. And this is even up for pre-order. So didn't really pre-order this. Is still ongoing for pre-order at pre-order price. So I'm not going to get this because I have no idea what this version of Android 17 is about, and don't have any, I would say, no impression of it at all. So I'm not going to collect this. So this is definitely the version that I want, that I think many collectors want, looking at this high price online. So same like Android 18, Android 17 was released on two different versions. This is the later version. This is the newer version. I think as you can see for yourselves, there are some slight color differences. Now, it's not just about the picture or the lighting, but it is mentioned by collectors as well who really have those figures. So usually the first version and the second version of the figures or characters released by S.H.F, there are just some slight color differences or variations to it. But I think any versions that of Android 17, this version that is released by S.H.F would be greatly appreciated. So these are the two first versions of 17 and 18. This is how the back of the box looks like. So of course, I hoped to really get these versions of Android 18 and 17. Now, even if S.H.F doesn't reissue these two figures, I think I would try to get these two versions online, even though it is quite costly. So I really hope that S.H.F does reissue these two figures, top of the choice, first two on my charts, on my list of 10. So we would definitely want to display these two figures this way, or even with Android 16. And I would definitely want to display Android 17 and 18 with cell like this as well, both the first form and the second form. So I really hope that Android 17 and 18 will be released again, reissued again on this 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. So third on my list is Reissue. Yes, this has been mentioned before. I've seen some YouTube creators talk about this as well. They are both collectors and YouTubers basically. So I thought it was just myself until I went online wanting to get this figure. It's quite expensive and difficult to find. Even though I managed to get one already brand new, but I think this would be the top of the list for many collectors for a reissue, for a timely reissue on this 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. So this will be third on my list for SHF to reissue. So it was released back in 2021. So this is how the figure looks like, both the front and back of the box. So Raccoon would be the third on my choice. And of course, next, number 4 will be Ginyu Force. The rest of the Ginyu Force, other than Raccoon, of course, the other characters are Ginyu himself, Bertha, and Guldo, and Jesse. I hope I'm pronouncing all these names correctly. So I think many people would want the reissue of the entire Ginyu Force, that is, together with Raccoon, of course. Here's another look at the Ginyu figure itself in the box. Bertha, and Guldo. I really hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. And Jesse. So I think many collectors would definitely want to own these figures if they didn't order it the first time around, or for newer collectors to really pose and display the figures like this. The entire Ginyu Force, it just look beautiful. Here's another picture together with Frieza. So this is the first form Frieza with the pod. So of course Ginyu Force will be top 4 on my list of reissues that SHF could do on this 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. 5th of my list is this character. I remember many years ago I read a comic. I think this is the last villain in that 42 series or 42 volumes in that comic book series. So Majin Buu, if I'm pronouncing it correctly as well, Majin Buu, yep. So the good version is difficult to find. This is the second release. So the first release was back in 2018. Second version was back in 2022. So I think a reissue for this is also would be highly sought after, would be in good order, so that new collectors or collectors who miss this out could get this as well. Now, if I remember correctly, this is also very difficult to find online. Really very rare, not easily available, and the cost is also quite high. It's at least 200 or more US dollars per piece. So a reissue of this would be good as well. Next, of course, Majin Buu Super. This figure is also quite rare, difficult to find, and expensive. So if SHF could reissue this on the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball, I think it would be great. Here's another look at this Majin Buu Super figure, both the front and the back of the box. Alright, next so I think the Majin Buu will look great together, both the Super and the Good. And of course, if there are more releases by SHF on the other versions of Majin Buu, I think they will look perfect together, as everyone can see for yourselves. So these are the other versions of Majin Buu. So I think these are definitely figures and characters SHF can really consider releasing them, or even announcing them in the future, that is. Alright, next, number 7 on my reissue wish list, of course, is this Gohan. Now, I didn't even know this version was released or even made. In fact, I wanted to include this figure, this character, in my SHF wish list. So I think instead, I realized this was made. So of course, it will be in my wish list for the reissues. And this is another look at the figure. And of course, I would want this figure to go along with Krillin. I think this figure will look great together with Krillin. An excellent posing, displaying idea. So this version of Gohan would be a wish list for myself for any reissues that SHF would consider. Now, before I go on to 8, 9, 10, I think I have quite a few honorable mentions. So a quick search online, right, as to what is the most expensive SHF figure. So it's this figure that I found out that was most expensive, 2011 Super Saiyan Goku. So this is another look at the figure. So if it's so expensive and valuable or even highly sought after, I think it would be a great choice for a reissue. Next would be this Vegeta. Think I don't think, it is stated that it is an US exclusive that is called the original animation color edition. So this is also another figure that popped up when I typed in SHF most expensive figures. So this was released all the way back in 2014. It's really 2024. So I think a reissue 10 years later would be in good order as well. By the way, for the record, this is a Sunday night, 24th of November 2024, Singapore, Hong Kong time, 10:19 p.m. So glad that you all could join me in my live video. This is my third live video so far in my YouTube channel, Stephen Rogers Lim here. By the way, another honorable mention, of course, would be Trunks. Now, actually, the 2023 version, this version is quite easily available. The price is not too expensive as well. But I was hoping for a reissue because even though this figure is still quite cheap, but I don't think it will beat pre-order price. So if it was up for pre-order again, as in reissued again, I think it would be great since I can buy this figure at a much cheaper price. So maybe at this point I will talk a bit about figures. I think the newer versions are always better compared to the older versions. I think they would have improved in the quality, in the color, in the details, so on and so forth. So if there was to be a reissue, of course I hope that SHF would reissue the newer version or second version of Trunks. And of course, why Trunks? So that I could put him in this position, this posing, displaying position, together with King Cole as well. So I hope Trunks can be reissued by SHF during this 40th anniversary too. So this is a picture I found online. King Cole has already been released recently and worldwide, I would say. And I think Singapore has just received its stocks as well. So I managed to get this quite cheap, even though I didn't pre-order this, but I got it from a first-hand seller. So I think with my Trunks, I would definitely want to do this display posing position as well. I think this should be the honorable mentions that I have. Oops, sorry, how can I forget? Another honorable mention would be a reissue for all the Freezers. So I think all the Freezers are quite highly sought after. I think the earlier versions like Freezer Form 2, 3 and 1, they are not easy to find and they are quite expensive. So I thought that it would be an honorable mention for Freezer to be reissued again by SHF. So these are some versions of Freezer that have already been released, and maybe it would be the good idea as well for SHF to reissue them. But of course, I would prefer if they reissued Android 17 and 18 because those two are really difficult to find and expensive. And I really want to own them, Android 17 and 18. So this is another nice picture of all the different forms of Frieza put together. Alright, on to number 8. I really need a reissue of Piccolo because they are not that easy to find and they are quite costly, definitely more expensive than they were at pre-order price. So this is, if I'm not wrong, this is the earlier version, is this version, right? This is the later version of Piccolo. So the earlier version is the one on the right. the later version is the one on the left. Now I really hope to have a reissue on the version on the right, because then I can really pose my Piccolo. I hope I'm pronouncing Piccolo correctly itself, because when I was reading the comic books when I was a very young boy many years ago, I don't know him as Piccolo, I know him as Beaker. The Chinese version or Chinese name of Piccolo is Beaker. So I know him as Beaker. So this is a very iconic, memorable, legendary scene of Gohan together with Piccolo before they went to Battle Cell. So if I remember correctly, right, Gohan asked for Piccolo's attire or costume before they went to Battle Cell, and Piccolo gifted this, I would say, clothing or costume to Gohan so that they could go Battle Cell together. So this was very memorable for me as a child. So I hope that this version of Piccolo could be released again, so that I can pose it together with this version of Gohan, which I already own. I think this was released not too long ago, so it was not, I didn't buy it at a very high price. I think the pre-order just ended, and just nice this figure was released, which I could get it when I first started my hobby. I think it was back in October. So this version of Piccolo would be great, and of course if this version of Piccolo is reissued by S.H.F again, I think it will be great as well. Number 9, this is Vegeta. Same thing, I don't really know him as Vegeta, I know him as Tar, right? Tar is the Chinese name. So of all the Vegetas that I have tried to find and search for, I think this is the most expensive version, the Scouter 2.0. So I think a reissue of this 2017 version of Vegeta would be in great order. It's another, I think it would go well if you can display this version of Vegeta with the other versions of Vegeta. So I really hope that this version of Vegeta will be released, reissued, that is, released again. So this is another picture I found online of this version of Vegeta. And definitely last but not least, of course, number 10 will be all the cells, perfect cells, or they call it Sairu in Chinese, Sairu. So he is the very main reason why I started collecting S.H.F, because I couldn't find any other nice figures of cells except by S.H.F. So I really wanted, I really want S.H.F to reissue him. Now I got this middle version, the one in the middle, I got this version. In fact, I think I was fortunate enough to manage to find a local seller from Singapore to sell it to me for quite cheap. It is these two versions, the one on the right and the left, that are so difficult to find. Whether it is used versions or brand new versions, they are difficult to find. I think for now, I really want to buy brand new versions of figures and toys from S.H.F, because you would never know how the figures were treated in previous owners. So I really hope that S.H.F can reissue at least this left and this right versions of Cell. So this was done in 2012. This was released in 2018. This was released in 2017. So of course, if S.H.F reissued this, I will not be getting this again. And of course, I hope that it will be this version and this version that is reissued again by S.H.F. So of course, why would I want this perfect cell? I hope I can display the cells together. Of course, we all know that the Form 1 and the perfect cell has already been released. The second form has not yet been released. So I really hope S.H.F will release this figure soon as well. Alright, I think all the perfect cells being displayed together would just be beautiful and a great display idea. Alright, I think I have come to the end of my video for this reissue wish list for S.H.F or S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Z specifically. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that SHF could consider the figures that I just mentioned above to be reissued in this 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. This has been Stephen Rogers Lim. People, thank you so much for watching. Take care, goodbye, and as always, don't stop collecting, people. See you, take care, bye bye.